Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thought it was timely to give you an update on the Heat Smart program review, with a number of changes happening at central government level, but also some significant progress to report here in Hawke's Bay. So Mr. Heaney's going to take you through his paper.
Thank you. Good morning, councillors. Good morning, Mr. Chairman. It is a pleasure to be here with a good news story. You've obviously read the paper, so I'll just pick out a couple of points where there have been changes since this paper was written. First of all, the bad news. We had another exceedance in Hastings last night, so that brings us up to 5 for the year. This time last year we'd had 7. There have been no exceedances in Napier to date. Now, that's entirely down to the Heat Smart programme. If the numbers go up with the exceedances, then it's down to the weather. First of all, I think it's worth noting that we enjoy a very good reputation in Wellington with ECA and the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Authority, and also with the Ministry for the Environment, in the level of intervention that we have introduced in Hawke's Bay through the Heat Smart programme. We are the second highest in the country in terms of insulation, with 20% of the properties in the area being covered, and we are the highest in terms of the take-up for the clean air grants that were available through the Ministry for the Environment, which isn't bad when we have 3% of the population, and the figures are in there. There were, I think, 2,200 grants available last year, of which Hawke's Bay used 1,129. A disproportionate amount in Hawke's Bay, which is good to see the money coming from central government into Hawke's Bay. As far as the insulation is concerned, the government has announced in its most recent budget that there will be a change to the ECA programme. They foreshadowed this change in September last year by announcing that they would be withdrawing from the clean heat aspect of their programme, and both of these have the potential to have an impact on our Heat Smart programme in Hawke's Bay, mainly because of the, if you like, loss of incentive that was available through the grants and subsidies that the government were putting into the scheme. That's not an inconsiderable amount of money that's come into Hawke's Bay. In total, the activity since the beginning of the programme in 2009 can be estimated at about $11.3 million. That's quite a bit of money coming into Hawke's Bay, and I applaud government for doing that. With the change, they are suggesting that for insulation there will only be providers who can subsidise with third-party funding. So the 60% that was previously available, and which we topped up with loans, is now going to be 100% funding, and dependent on that third-party funding from iwi's, trust, etc. It's not been put in writing yet, but I understand that the Hawke's Bay Power Board have committed $400,000 a year to this particular scheme, and their 40% contribution is going through one provider in Hawke's Bay. To remind you, we have approximately 15 providers at the moment. That number will drop to 1 who have third-party funding, and a further 8 who have met the quality criteria for the rest of the insulation programme. For the clean heat side of things, we essentially lose the $2,000 that Community Services Card holders received as a grant through the ECA programme, and the $1,000 that was available through the Clean Air Grant and ECA for general income families. Now, that's quite a loss of incentive for the general public, and I'm keen to ensure that we maintain the level of numbers that we've been enjoying recently. The cut-off date is the end of this week for those grants and loans that previously existed with ECA, and consequently, as you would anticipate, there has been a last-minute rush as people want to get in before the opportunity to get that money disappears. As a result, this month we are now at 253 applications for clean heat grants and loans, and I anticipate we have about 50 in the pipeline in terms of applications, so I think we'll hit again 300 this month. Last month was the highest month we've ever had, with 347 applications. To remind you and put that into context, in order to achieve our target of 10,000 fires over the 10 years, that's an average of 83 per month over the course of the programme. So we are really pumping them through. One of the concerns that we have in terms of ECA withdrawing their clean heat support is that there are two things that we rely on ECA for, and that is in association with quality assurance. And they provide for us an audit programme, an independent audit, for the jobs that are done for us, and that's our safety net, if you like. They control also the products that are available. In other words, they have to meet a certain standard, both for insulation and for clean heat. Now, I'm keen to continue that relationship with ECA. ECA are also keen to do it. So what I have negotiated with ECA is that they will continue to provide us with that audit function for both clean heat and for insulation for the next 12 months, free of charge, at no cost to the ratepayers in Hawke's Bay. During that 12 months, I anticipate that between us we will have a replacement quality programme that again will be self-funding to replace it in 2014 when our contract is due for renewal again. So that was an important win for us, to be able to have that continuity of quality assurance.
There's been a number of products being pushed through advertisements, I've noticed, for instant fix for double glazing and things like this. This quality assurance audit that is done means that only those solutions that are able to be shown to be of benefit and have passed a rigorous test are approved for funding. Is that
the recommendation from ECA is that they continue to maintain a product list. As far as insulation and healthy homes are concerned, they have always focused on ceilings and floors, not on double glazing, not on HRV systems, etc. So they have a defined product range, if you like. They also promote the Energy Star rating programme to give the most efficiency for the products that they are recommending. Now, I'm proposing that we continue to adopt those standards that are set by ECA. Otherwise, we are in danger of being swamped with cheaper, lower quality products that you wouldn't be able to assure the same level of quality for.
I guess what I'm looking at insurance for is it's not anti-competitive, it's not anti-innovation, but is promoting quality and outcome.
Yep. ECA will always look for the best quality product and will draw the line and say that certain quality is unacceptable to them. Now, in terms of anti-competitive nature, most of the product that is available on the market for clean heating is available from a variety of different sources, even though the product is more or less the same. So, no, I don't think there is an anti-competitive nature to this. So, in summary, I guess my last point is the ECA will only be funding 60% where there is a 40% match funding in terms of a contribution, and that means that customers will be getting 100% funding and are unlikely to come to us for a loan in that circumstance because they're covered. However, there is likely to be an increase in the number and the cost of the average loans for those that fall into the general income threshold, which we will deliver through those 8 remaining ECA providers for the next 12 months. So it's likely that the cost will go up on average, and what I'm asking Council to consider is a proposal to, pardon the pun, set floors and ceilings for insulation where there had been none previously, and to also match that for clean heat in terms of the higher level of loan allowable. So I'm looking for a loan that starts at 1,000 and finishes at 4,000 for insulation and for clean heat. The ECA rules having changed with effect from the end of this month no longer require us to have the 100,000 income threshold as part of our scheme. And there is also a proposal that we change the way in which we collect the administration fee for the programme. The simple reason behind that is that at the moment that $170 admin fee comes to us at $17 a year for 10 years. It improves our cash flow, if you like, to have that as an upfront payment rather than being incorporated as part of the loan. It reduces our requirement for borrowing. And that is a summary for you. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Well, yes, thank you. A very, very interesting and very good paper. The 80 odd people you've had come to you in the last month, how have they come to you? What's been the accelerator to bring them in? Is it simply general knowledge within the community, or you've done extra advertising, or are people being sent to you by providers?
Or the shortest answer I can give to that question is yes. Yes. The awareness has raised due to our advertising programme. We've been on the radio, we've done media releases. I have contacted, for example, companies like property brokers who have a large number of rental properties under their care. So the level of awareness has been raised because I did not want us to be open to criticism for not letting people know that the funding will be running out.
Very, very good result.
Yes, thank you for your paper. Obviously, this scheme's working pretty well. Just under item 4 at the start there, Hawke's Bay, with the position, and you talk about how we're ahead of last year significantly, and it's tempting perhaps to indulge in a bit of self-congratulations, fair enough, but we've had a dream run weather-wise until this cold snap, much to the relief of the farmers of Hawke's Bay and beyond. Have you got any sort of data that correlates PM10 levels and climate? In other words, to make an objective comparison, we've got to factor into temperature levels, don't we? Would you like to comment on that?
We do. In terms of the exceedances that we experience, they are driven by multiple drivers. The driver that we're focusing on is the reduction of PM10 that is a direct result of reducing the PM10 by targeting specifically that. There have been suggestions that we might also raise the level of awareness with the public by issuing warnings that we have a potential for exceedance on certain weather conditions, and we could do that via the radio. That's a possibility.
Just a question about the audit. Does the audit actually measure the effectiveness of the insulation, or whether the insulation is done properly? Because, and the reason I asked it, I was in a 100-year-old house the other day that's been insulated, but of course after 100 years worth of earthquakes and an old timber house in Hawke's Bay which has droughts and wet weather, obviously the doors contract and expand over time, and the door frames are warped by earthquakes. So you're sitting in an insulated house, but the lovely curtains, the southerly breeze is screaming in. So although it's insulated, it's still cold. So does the audit actually put a temperature gauge inside the house and say, yes, before insulation it was -10 and now it's 25, or is it just say the guys put the insulation on the roof and underneath properly? Because that would be quite important.
For the very reasons that you've described, Councillor Gilbertson, the audit is associated with the standards set by ECA for the installation, not the outcome.